This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
All right, guys, welcome back. Road to the Golden Door podcast. I've got a all-star pest control killer here on the show today. Zach Kinzel, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show.
Dude, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome, bro. Cool, man. Looking forward to this interview. Reached out to you a while back, and I was like, dude, you're just a stud. I know that you are newer in the industry, but you came up. You got your butt kicked your first year or so, and then all of a sudden just turned on the gas, bro. And I want to know about that. I want our listeners to know what it looks like. Most guys, if they don't get success in their first year, they kind of just peter out. And I want to know kind of your mindset, the hurdles you ran into, things you're listening to, some of your routines, and I'm excited to get in this. So that being said, who is Zach Kinzel?
Yeah, dude, great question. So, Zach Kinzel, that's a loaded question, right? So, first off, to keep it brief, graduated high school 2018, went to college, played college football for a couple of years, graduated college 2020, and that was kind of a tough year to graduate because COVID, obviously. So I was supposed to do an internship with Gatorade in Germany, which would have been like a dream come true. Instead, I had to resort to like knocking doors. So, which ended up working out, not too bad, but at first I was like devastated. So came home, my sister's boyfriend at the time was doing door to door, and he was like, hey, like we're leaving tomorrow if you want to go. And I didn't even unpack my suitcase from college. I was like, all right, let's roll, right? So just drove out to San Diego, sold there for maybe a week before COVID shut that down, went out to Oklahoma City, sold there for a little over a month, and then finished that summer out in Nashville. So we were just like bouncing. And that was with Vantage. I'm sure you've heard of them, obviously, Vantage Marketing. So I sold Insight and then Terminex. It was a great summer. Our team won they do like Vantage Survivor, I think is what it's called. Our team won it, which was cool. There was only like 7 of us, so it's not like our per rep average needed to be crazy necessarily. Or it's like we didn't have to sell crazy. But luckily at that point I was like in the peak. And I think that's really what started it all for me is I was selling 2-3 a day pretty consistently. But all of a sudden, like once I was just trying to be the best in my office every day, right? And just to be like, as long as I'm the best in my office, like I felt pretty good. Well, this Vantage Survivor thing kind of opened up the doors of like, oh dude, people are ripping like 5-10 a day. Like this is crazy. So decided to give that a shot, right? I got put in like this, like there's like the diamond, platinum, gold divisions or whatever. I think I was platinum, so like not the best by any means, but like I was second division for rookies. And I was like, man, these guys are ripping. I need to like compete. And that very first day I decided I was like, dude, I'm going to sell 10 a day. Went out and sold 10. Then the next day I was like, dude, if I could do 10 when I choose to, I can do 10 every day. So then I went out, sold 10 like every day. And then I sold 14. And then I sold 17. Right. And 17 is my best. I wish I could say I did 20, and so it was like between those last 2 weeks of the summer, I sold 180 accounts. And I realized like, dude, that was over half my summer at the point, just in the last 2 weeks. So it's like the first couple of months were nothing compared to, last 2 weeks. And I decided like, dude, I could be really good at this if I, don't sit on park benches and don't walk over to the gas stations and do all the stuff that you do as a rookie. Right. So then my second year, I decided with the help of a couple buddies to go open up my own pest control company in Boise, Idaho, which was great. The company's still up and running right now. We did like just under $1 million in our first year. But I just realized I wasn't passionate about pest control. I was passionate about like selling, and I wanted to push my limits on like what I could do. So then I decided to come over to the Grit because I saw the production. Obviously, they're pretty loud with their golden doors, right? And I was like, well, if they have 11, like I could try to work with one of those guys and maybe get a lot better. Well, luckily I got to work with, like 11 of those guys, which was sick, and came out and ended up selling a golden door in my third year. So my first year, for like revenue reference, I did like 240K. My second year I did 220K. So I did actually less my second year. And there's a ton of excuses I can make on why I did less. At the end of the day, it was just like I did less, right? And then my third year is like, okay, I'm not gonna, if I don't do 400K minimum, like I'm done with the door space. Like I've got a degree. There's other things I could do. Like I've been offered jobs. Let's just give it one last run, see how it goes. But in order to do that, I felt like I had to put myself in the room where it happens, which was at the time was the grit.
That's pretty awesome, dude. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Yeah, there's the grit's definitely doing something right, huh?
Yeah, I mean, 14.
Hit. Yeah, and yeah, I've had Alec on the show. That kid's a beast. I've got a couple more of your guys that are looking like they're going to be coming on here too. So I'm excited to understand the mind of a pest control golden door guy, because it's or girl. It's the grind of the pest is just so much different than roofing, solar, or alarms.
It's a dark place,
to say the least, right? It's interesting though, because I don't think, cause a lot of the, and I did door-to-door sales for a decade, right? And installed $27 million in solar myself, a couple, almost 200 million in my offices under my I guess umbrella, my jurisdiction, if you will. And dude, the pest control grind, like I do my very best to get my guys at that time to understand the work ethic that needs to be in there. And I want to understand that. And I want our listeners to know, like, dude, Zach, like, you're not anything special regarding, your innate ability or natural talent to go and sell. Like, I am sure that measly 240K in your first year wasn't anything special. No offense,
yeah.
But like, it's like, okay, cool. Like 240, like that means like you basically did what, one a day? What is that?
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 a day.
One pest control account?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 2, 3 days. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's still at 2, 3 days. It's like, that's like, one alarm account a day. It's like, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you're getting people to sign up for pest control, right? What did you do this year? How many, I guess, a day did you equal out to roughly?
Yeah, well, to be honest, like I wish it was more a day. Trust me, like I'd love it to be more.
Is it
right?
then your per contract average then is up?
So yeah, I think I'd even go as far as to say I probably had one of the best in the industry. I haven't checked, like I haven't fact checked it, but I had a 1200 ACV. So it's like pretty up there. I'd say like most companies are averaging like 750. So luckily I was in a good place, but I sold on average like 6 or 7 a day. So it was like double production, right? But it didn't, like, I also doubled contract value. So it's not like I went from like, 1 a day to 10 a day. Like it wasn't like some crazy insane jump. It was, okay, how can I make like the minutia changes where it's like, whether it's an extra hour a day of work, or maybe it's like, maybe instead of like going to the gas station for lunch or like going out for lunch, I just like eat lunch from, like, I just eat a granola bar during the day. And it's those little changes, like those little tweaks that'll add 1 or 2 a day. And if you add 1 or 2, well, dude, your confidence automatically, like that's your new standard. Where like if I was selling 3 a day, as soon as I sell 3 a day, I'm like, all right, chill. But if I'm selling 6 a day consistently and I'm at 4, I'm like, oh, dude, I got to get to 6. So then you start doing that like every day. And then I think confidence also adds another sale or 2 a day. So that's how you get to like the 7 to 8 range.
Yeah, there's another 2 in me. There's another 3 in me. And I want to know kind of what I like to do is I like to go through and get into the mind of Zach in the year, right? This is your first year hitting this. You just came off of
Golden Door season.
Golden Door, correct? So you're hot off the press. You're still steaming, right? Gotta let the tea, or the coffee cool down a little bit because you're at like 300 degrees right now. So I'm really excited about this interview because, dude, like a lot of the attributes that I'm seeing in every single one of the Golden Door Awards that I've created, a lot of the Golden Door Awards that I coach, a lot of the Golden Door Award winners that have been on the show have almost the exact same attributes, plus or minus like 2 or 3. And I want to make sure that the listeners understand and are hearing and looking, making sure that their reticular activating system is open and trying to hear what are the attributes that Zach is saying that every other guest that's been on this show, or that that's a Golden Door Award winner, what are they doing? Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a college professional athlete to become a Golden Door Award winner.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right? Not every single one of them was a college athlete, right? But it's a lot of it comes down to time management, like you said, your mindset, the confidence in what you have. And guess what? You don't even know a lot about pest control, and you can sell the crap
exactly
out of it,
right? It's like I'm not a 10-year vet. I'm not a salty dog, as they say. I'm an up and comer. So I would say like the biggest attributes that I've seen. I mean, like I said, dude, I'm blessed. Like I couldn't have. And this isn't like a plug for the grit by any means. Like, dude, work wherever it makes the most sense for you. But it's like, dude, I worked with Alec Withers. You said you had him on the show. It's like, dude, I couldn't have sold like a Golden Door without him. It's like every day he's selling 7 to 10. And you're like, dude, I got to keep up with that guy. Right. And Drew Hansen every day is selling 18. And you're like, dude, if he can sell 18 today, I can sell 7 a day. Like, it's not a stretch for me to sell half. Like, I'm not half the man he is. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm way taller. So that should mean something, right? Just kidding. But it's like, dude, he's great. Like, he's amazing. He's not twice me, right? And like Zach Seeger, he's not twice me. Cody Olive, he's not twice me. And I respect the hell out of these guys. But I don't see anyone as double what I am, right? So now it's just figuring out, okay, what are they doing that's successful? And like, how can I like attribute, or how can I follow in the footsteps? Like you said, success leaves clues. So, dude, what I did is, and this is probably the first attribute, is I was a sponge. And I just, like, I was in the office every day. I had no reps, so no recruits. It's not like I had to be in the office for training, right? I'm in there with 0, like, I think I maybe had 2 guys finish last summer. So it's like, I'm not training all that often. I'm just like sitting in the room. And Drew walks in, 9 a.m., right? I just finished. I was doing morning journaling, just like have different goals for the days, which I typically don't do, to be honest. But I was like, you know what? Like, let me try something new. I've heard it helps you like focus. So did that. Drew walks in at 9. He's like, hey, dude, I'm about to do a meeting on funneling. Like, do you want to sit in? Dude, of course. Go in, sit in on that. Come out. Alec Withers shows up.
What the heck is funneling?
Yeah, great question. So
keep going.
So, and then, Alec Withers, he walks in and he's like, hey, dude, I'm about to do a training on pricing. Okay, cool. Go do that. Hey, dude, Brock Grieve walks in. Hey, I'm going to do a training on soft closing. You want to sit in? Sure. I'd love that. Or it's like also understanding.
The Grit basically has an all-star team. If anybody that is listening, you're like, who the heck are these people? First off, go look them up on Instagram, go look them up on Facebook, go look them up on LinkedIn. But basically you're talking about how you have a combination of the friggin' Houston Astros, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and all and the Braves. Like, you've got
it's like, and I realized, like, okay, Brock sold 1,000 accounts, Drew sold 1,000 accounts, Alex sold 900 accounts. Like, these guys are obviously way better than I am. Yeah. Cody sold 1,800 accounts, right? So it's like, these guys are way better than I am. Let me just sit in. And like, even if I don't say a single word the entire meeting, to be a fly on the wall in those meetings helped me more than like anything. So I'd say just being a sponge, and like, even if I just took one thing away from every meeting, well, dude, I just got one thing better that day. It's like, if I implement, and something that's super important to remember too is immediate implementation, where it's like, as soon as you learn it, do it. There's no point in like learning it and being like, dude, I can't wait till the summer so I can use this. Like, well, you won't remember it by the summer, right? It's like, listen to it, put it in your pitch, do it right then, repeat it until it's like concrete, and then you can see if it actually works for you or not, right? But it comes with like the dedication of like, if you learn to actually use what you've learned. So be a sponge is probably the biggest thing. Application, like actually doing the things that you learned, is also pretty big. And then I think that, dude, a super common theme in every industry, I'd say, is like zero dark 30 is what I call it, where you just go to a place where like no isn't an option, failure isn't an option. It's like you're gonna sell every damn person you talk to that day just because like and this is my mindset of it, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but who's the professionally trained salesman? Like the customer or me? Well, I am. Okay, who's trained to get people to agree with them? Well, dude, I am. Who's trained to get people to say yes? Well, I am. What's the customer trained to do? Dude, they're not trained to do anything. They're not trained to say yes. They're not trained to say no. They're just a blank canvas, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of people think like, oh, dude, like my closing rate should be like 30% or like 50% or, whatever it may be throughout various industries. Dude, you should be winning 70% of the time. Like you should be winning those conversations. You're the one that's trained. You're the one that put 10,000 hours into it, right? For all these guys
Yep.
who are in their sixth, seventh, eighth year of selling, dude, you've put 10,000 hours into selling. You shouldn't expect to lose ever, right? That's like if you shot 90% from the 3-point line and then you enter a 3-point contest expecting to lose. Like, dude, you put your whole life into this, right? So
Right.
you shouldn't expect to lose. You should expect to win. If you lose, it should be an upset. Like you were like minus 2,200 and somehow TCU beat you or something, right? Shout out to Horned Frogs. But anyway, I just don't understand why people think that they need to lose. Like, the odds are actually in your favor, I'd say. So, and that's regardless of if anyone's knocked in front of you or if you're knocking behind somebody or you're the 10th guy in the neighborhood that week. Well, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, you're the best. You're the best guy in the neighborhood that week. So it doesn't matter who talked before you.
That's right.
So I'd say going zero dark 30 is like you just decide, like, and you make the decision and you never ever ever look back and you never go back on yourself. And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe like, oh, dude, I'm going to sell a Golden Door. Dude, it didn't make sense for me to go from 220K to 660K to 3x my production. That didn't make sense. Like, there's no like chart that's like, okay, well, on Zach's trajectory, he should increase by 3 times now, right? 300%. It doesn't like add up. But I realized that, oh, sorry. I realized that, dude, sometimes you have to set goals so big. And this is a quote from John C. Maxwell, so I can't say that's my idea. But you have to set goals so big that they're destined to fail without divine intervention. It's like set goals so big that like it shouldn't make sense. Like it didn't make sense for, a kid with one arm to make it to the NFL, but look at Shaquem Griffin. That didn't make sense, right? It didn't make sense for like all like the people to go to the moon, but they did, right? So set goals so big that without divine intervention, they're destined to fail, and just never look back.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that really quick. A lot of issues that I see is around our generation. We want so badly, we desire community, to be loved, to have impact. We want to make a difference in the world. Now here's the problem. When our family or our friend group or mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, whoever, people that are significant to us that we hold to this higher standard or that hold us to that, or we look, they're mentors of ours, whether we call them a mentor or not, they have influence in our life. What did you run into that? Like, did you run into, Zach, you're kind of a little crazy, man. You should slow down. Like, buddy, like you're going out and traveling and now you're making some money. Like, whoa, who do you think you are? Off mic, you were saying earlier, like, you got all like hot headed when you sold your 220.
No, I thought I was all that, right? I mean, so
what is, I mean, did you run into that hurdle of parents,
1,000%.
friends, like being like, yo, dude,
yeah.
Tell me about that. Where was your mindset at that? And look back at hindsight's 2020 now. Remember, you're hot off the press right now. You hit your Golden Door right now. What was it like mentally? If I can get you to go back to that, I would say dark spot in your life prior to getting this confidence and being like, yo, I'm going to go hit this? Where was it at? Were they telling you what's your
Yeah.
plan B?
So I briefly touched on it a little bit, right? Where I said, if I don't sell 400K, I'm done, right? Well, it wasn't necessarily my decision. It was, but it wasn't, right? So this is kind of how it shook out where, well, dude, first off, my first year I sold great. Like, top 5 rookie advantage. It was awesome. Like I thought I was him, right? I sold for like 7 weeks, I think. So for me to sell like that much in 7 weeks is like pretty impressive for my standards, right? And dude, I like didn't get a back end. And like it's the dark secret of the industry, right? It sucks, but it's like, dude, I didn't get a back end. So now I'm like dirt broke, right? I worked all these hours for like almost no pay, right? Because I decided I was going to go start my own company, which I get. Like, it's not like we were taking reps with us, but I could see how they would think like, oh, like they're going to in the future, whatever. It's fine. I took a chance on myself, lost the back end to start my own company. Well, when I started my own company, yeah, we did great, and I put a lot of my own money into the company, like as far as like profit distribution, where I could have taken profit, but I instead reinvested. So I didn't make very much money at all with my own company either. So, dude, I'm like broke. Like driving out to summer this last year, it's like, dude, I asked my fiance at the time, like, oh, can you Venmo me $40? I'm almost to Boston. I just need money for gas. Like, I don't want to go negative. Like dark, like not smart with my finances at all. And like, because I'm expecting this 80 grand back end that never shows up, right? So, you go like 4 grand in credit card, and you're like, that's fine. I'll still have 76 grand left, right? Well, then it just never shows up, which sucks. So it was like, dude, I've been doing this job for 2 years and made almost no money. So why would I do it again? Like, unless there's like this huge year for me, like it makes no sense for me to continue, right? So I went to a company that I knew had like good ethics, right? And like I'd heard good things about with the grit, and the results were good. So I was like, well, let me give it a shot. And yeah, dude, like my family's always not liked door to door. They actually, it's funny. I got home from the summer and I was like, yep, got my golden door. And they're like, oh, cool, dude, that's sick. My dad started listening to the Grit. The Grit has a podcast. Shout out to the landing pad. It's huge. I love it. My landlord is actually the guy who runs it. He's sick. Um, my dad started listening to the Grit's podcast because he's like, well, I want to be like a little bit more involved in what you do. There was a podcast with Sam Taggart. He explains what you have to actually go through to get a golden door. He called me. He was like, dude, I had no idea like what you actually accomplished. Like it's crazy. And so, I mean, dude, that felt great. Even after years of them saying like, yeah, I don't know if door to door really makes sense. Like I wouldn't do that if I were you, right? You have a degree, internet, like you're 3 credits away from your master's. You might as well finish, go get a job. Same thing. I mean, my fiance's family, her mom's a nurse, her dad's a carpenter. It's as blue collared as it gets. Like commission is like not on the radar, right? It's not safe, it's not sturdy, it's not secure, all the things that people say.
It's a good offer, a
Yeah,
401k.
no, it does not. So it's like you've got all these doubts that people are throwing at you. I can luckily say it never came from my coworkers. There was always belief that it would get done, which like was probably the only like light at the end of the tunnel that I could see, was that guys who had done it before saw themselves in me, which was great. But dude, 99% of people said it like you're not gonna get it done. And like whether it was the people who sold with me my first year, my second year that didn't go with me to the Grit, that were like, yeah, dude, like whatever, go do your thing, go get your golden door, whatever, right? But and Ben Egan, the owner of the Grit, he says that it comes down to really like 3 things when you're looking at like yourself. It's like your people first, right? It's like a triangle. Your people, your revenge, and then like your wants, right? So what does that mean? Well, all your goals and wants, in order for you to like get to these, you have to achieve this goal. And then for your people, in order for your people to look up to you and to see you as a leader and for you to grow, you have to hit this goal in the middle. And for your revenge to show everybody that you could do it, and anyone that didn't believe in you that, hey dude, I actually went out and did it, so F you, right? You have to hit because anything short of that, like anything short of this number right here is failure. And for me, that was 400K, right? And like, I don't know when, I wish I could say I knew exactly when to switch. I think we were doing a leadership meeting, and I mean, we were in our new building, which is just skin and bones right now. It's just a warehouse with no rooms, no ceiling. Like it's like construction zone. There was snow in there. It was freezing, right? And we're in there, and Ben says like somebody stand up and tell me what you're gonna do this year. And I stood up and I was like, I'm gonna do a golden door. And I was in front of everybody, like in front of 300, 200 people. It's like, well, now I have to do it, right? I just told everybody I was going to do it. So then 400 quickly switched to 650, and actually, what a lot of people see me and they're like, oh, dude, he's this golden door guy. Like they don't realize, like, dude, I'm a huge failure. My goal was 1,000 accounts. I didn't even come close to that. I sold 600 or 610 or something. So it's like I didn't actually hit my goal at all. But like, if my goal was 1,000 and I hit a golden door, it's like, hey, dude, there's worse places to be. So like I said, dude, setting goals so big that they're destined to fail without divine intervention. Well, dude, divine intervention didn't come along this time. I hate to break it, but next time I'm sure it will. And next year when I do 1,000,000, dude, I hope divine intervention steps in because it's going to take more than me, right? But that's what I would say as far as like going to that dark place and like all that self-doubt. It's like, dude, if I don't do 400K, it's over. And I think one of the best trainings I ever got was by Calvin Escobedo. He's phenomenal. And he trained on pre-overcoming, but not pre-overcoming objections, like pre-overcoming life. So, I mean, at the time I had a girlfriend for 4 years. Well, dude, I'm going to Boston. She's going to be in Indiana. We're not going to see each other the entire summer. That could lead to a lot of like tension, right? So I had to pre-overcome that. Hey, I think you should go home, work at home, be with your family. Her sister just had a baby. Perfect time for you guys to like really grow close. I'm going to go out and get this goal. And like, mom, dad, like, don't text me, don't call me. I don't want to know about what's going on at home. I don't care. Like I'm getting this goal, and like the world could be on autopilot for all I care because I'm here doing my thing. And dude, as much as I hate to say it, like my one of my close friends had a wedding this summer. It's like, dude, I wanted more than anything to be there. Like I love this guy. Like I've always looked up to him. And like, so you just gotta sacrifice. It's like you don't go. You don't go to the wedding because that's 4 days off, and 4 days is 40 accounts, and 40 accounts is, like, and you start doing the math, and not only that, but
You wouldn't
it would have taken me an extra week or two, and it kills your momentum. And dude, it's like, so you just have to pre-overcome life. It's like, dude, there's going to be the girlfriend that's texting you and calling you during the day. You just ignore it. And like, you apologize later. Like you call back at 9 p.m. and you're like, hey babe, I am so sorry that I ignored your calls. But remember in March when I told you not to call me? Well, like what you tolerate today is what you deal with tomorrow. If I answer that call, well, dude, she'll call me every day. So it only took 1 or 2 calls for her to realize, hey, he's not going to answer me. Like, I'm going to stop calling him. And it only took 1 or 2 calls from my reps, like during the middle of the day when they're tired and they're like, dude, how do you pre-overcome? Like, and you're like, dude, don't call me. Like, I would love to train you. I will train you until the wheels fall off from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. But between noon and 9, don't call me. Don't text me. Don't talk to me. It's like, if it's an emergency, text me and I'll see it pop up on my watch. And if I think I need to answer, I will. If not, don't talk to me. And that's what it's like. I just realized there's going to be enough struggle going for a golden door. Like you gotta eliminate as much as you can. And if you do it right, it'll work out great. Like me and my girlfriend, we're now engaged, and like I think it made us like way stronger. And like I proved to myself that I could get my goals. It built my confidence. I proved to her that we could actually make money, which was big. So we did that. And then, her family, like my family, it's only been better since I got a golden door. Like it obviously hasn't gotten worse.
That is, if you didn't catch that, or if you're at the gym listening to this, rewind about 4 or 5 minutes and re-listen to that. Zach, that is probably one of the biggest differentiators between the 1% and the 99%. The sacrifice that you put in was the end result goal, but it's not just for now. It is for the future and for your future, for your family's future. I just saw you got engaged, and I was going to talk about that because that's super important to me. But if you didn't do that and you said you were going to, in my head and what I've seen, not just within our industry, but within our generation, is we say we're going to, right now it's today, we're filming this on January 3rd, 2023. Okay. So like everyone technically will break by now it's like 99% will break their New Year's resolution as of today. So like we all commit, or our generation commits to all these things, but Zach, the grit that you have, just the commitment to actually doing that is what is a differentiator between someone that hits a golden door, someone that's an outstanding husband, an outstanding person in the community, outstanding sales professional, outstanding son, even I would say, brother, uncle, is the difference between someone that can commit to doing what they say and someone that doesn't. And again, I didn't say it, you said it. Okay. So guys, when you're listening to this, again, an attribute of another Golden Door Award winner is that they are willing to sacrifice who they are today for who they will become in the future.
And something I love is, and not to, we're happy to move on if you'd like to, but the last thing I was going to touch on is just something I tell my guys all the time. And I said it earlier, it's like what you tolerate today is what you have to deal with tomorrow, right? And it's like, and it's in everything. It's like, dude, if you don't get up to go to the gym, for example, well, it's going to hurt to get up. Don't get me wrong. It's for sure going to hurt. I'm not a morning person at all. I hate getting up. It's going to hurt to get up. What also hurts is, 5 years when you look back at old photos and now you're 40 pounds heavier. And it's like, I would much rather deal with the pain of action than the pain of regret. It's like, dude, the pain of regret is the worst pain that anybody could ever feel, right? Now, as much as I hate getting up, well, I will, and I'll go to the gym because I know that, dude, that's what I've got to sacrifice today so that tomorrow I don't feel pain. And it's the immediate sacrifice, the sacrifices that we make today, like what you said, so that in the future it's like, dude, I don't want to be 40 and not be able to go to my kid's soccer game or football game, right? Like the last thing I want in life is to like miss something because of work. So, dude, if I have to run until the wheels fall off for the next 10 years, and then by the time I have a kid and they're in school, it's like I don't have to work another day ever, then like perfect. Like awesome. I would love that. And like people say like, well, be balanced in life, like balance family, balance work, balance. Well, dude, like, and so many people have said it, so I'm totally like stealing this from everyone else, but it's like be strategically unbalanced. Like I will have a balanced life, but that's over the span of a lifetime. Like 70, 80, 90 years, my life will be balanced. But like for the first 20 years, it's going to be unbalanced and it's going to be grind, grind, grind. And then for the next 50 years, then it will be play, play, play. And that's balance, right? But like why we only think of things like today, tomorrow, this week, this month, and then maybe look as far as to this year, right? No one really looks further than that as far as like goals or life in general. Well, it's like the thing is I don't want to be balanced. I'm in the office every day from like 10 until about 7 every day. And I don't think that there's a door-to-door guy that does that. And it's like you go in, you do recruiting calls, you do sales trainings, you do everything because like I just want to be like as good as I possibly can, whether it's me training or I'm training others, right? Dude, I'm going to be in there all day. And I don't care if it puts a damper on at home, or I don't care if it puts a damper on my fitness or whatever, because I'm going to have a time in life where fitness makes sense. And I'm going to have a time in life where there's nothing to worry about but family. It's just not now.
Dude, that speaks volumes right there, bro. I think what you said there stood out to me the most was that our generation has a problem, a major pandemic of we are the YOLO lifestyle. You know, we don't count the cost of not putting in the work today. Now I understand, and there's a lot of those cliches out there that are like you know, you only live once, man. Like, you know, enjoy what you got. It's like, dude, I'm the first to say that I've, you know, lost 22 friends in the last 12 years. Like, you know what I mean? Lost some of my best friends, you know, missed weddings. You know, I just, for instance, this past year, this Christmas, I mean, I literally, I didn't go back to Vegas for Christmas because you know, I had to work. I had to get things done. There were certain things that I needed to do that, again, I just, sorry, but I can't, you know, I can't be there. And that's, you know, I'm not really even sorry, because the goal is to, you know, again, the goal is to set up my family, like I said I was going to do, within that 10-year time frame. And the hardest part about turning 30 last year in 2022 was I hit every single one of those goals. And Zach, I was like, those were what I thought were the divine intervention goals. And I'm sitting here like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Now what? If I could do this when I thought there was no way I would have the cars, the real estate, the investments, the franchises, the land, the oil and gas wells. Like, if I didn't, the following, the multiple companies, a beautiful wife, dude, there was no way that I thought I was actually going to get there. And then I hit it. And I'm like, dude, now what do I do? So I love the strategically unbalanced. I'm very strategic in what I do. And I know that obviously everyone that follows me on, you know, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, like, they see that I'm very strategic. I can tell you this past year in 2022, I tracked 83% or 80, I think it was 83 or 84% of what I did on a waking hour, to a micro action. So I know exactly what I was doing, whether that's knocking on doors, cool. Then I'm back on non-money making activities on Instagram, because for 5 minutes I was told to break for 5 minutes and sit on the curb for 5 minutes, set a timer, boom, 5 minutes on, back on doors, right? Like in, you know, quality time with my wife, hanging out with my wife, spending, you know, spiritual time with my wife, walking with the dogs with the wife. I track things to a micro action, because if it's important, you'll track it, and you can't manage something you're not tracking. So in my arena, that is super important and very strategic. And yeah, I also live a very unbalanced life as well, but I don't,
And
the
I was
good
going to
thing
say,
for me now, yeah, go ahead.
For you to kind of pivot to you a little bit, like, have your relationships ended? Are they awful? Like, yeah, maybe you lost a couple of friends along the way, but like, has your life gotten worse or better by being unbalanced?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's gotten better, because you're where your feet are planted. You're not an octopus. You don't have 8 tentacles that you can think in go in 8 different directions. Like, dude, when it's Sunday night and you're not selling, be with your wife. Don't be training sales reps. Don't, like, when it's from, you know, I tell my guys from 6 a.m. till noon, we could do as many trainings as you want. But when I get home from the doors, like, don't text me, don't call me. Like, that's my time with my fiance, right? It's like, dude, Sunday nights and Tuesday nights, those are like our set days where it's like, you don't get calls on Sundays and Tuesdays. Like, that's our day, right? And so you just set parameters and just be where your feet are planted. Like they say, like, the grass is greener where you water it, or where, you know, the grass is greener on the other side, or the grass is greener where you water it, right? It's like, be where your feet are planted.
Yeah. Let's talk about that really quickly. And I've got like
Yeah, you're
45 questions that I've written down. If we have time,
Perfect.
I'll get through as many as I can. But dude, that I just want to thank you. That was absolutely phenomenal. Like we could end the show right now, and that was nuggets. So much so that I think we had breakthroughs just by hearing what you just said. Dude, I'm extremely grateful that you just said that. Like, thank you. It's this mindset that we have to sacrifice. It's okay on the other side. Getting away from this people pleaser mentality mindset that we have as a generation. Dude, at the end of the day, brother, like your mom, your dad, my mom, my dad, if they get put in the hospital, someone's got to foot a bill. You know, my mom and dad both don't have insurance that I know of, like health insurance. And at the end of the day, someone's going to have to foot the bill, and that's going to be Mikey Lucas in the family.
Yeah.
Right. As of right now, currently today, right? My sister, my brother could, you know, come up on $1 million, $2 million, whatever. But as of right now, I'm the guy that's going to have to foot the bill. And I take that personally. I am not going to, I stopped, and what I'm saying this because I can see it in you, is I stopped negotiating for Mikey and started negotiating for
Morgan.
Right now. What is your fiance's name? So I started negotiating for Morgan in my life with Ryan. I started negotiating for Ryan and negotiating for my daughter, Sophia, and my son, Mikey Jr., whatever, which I don't have a son or a daughter yet. But, you know, I started negotiating for them and stopped saying, because at the end of the day, Zach, when I'm on doors or when I'm making phone calls now, I would stop. I'm not inherently disciplined. I'm not that. And most Golden Door guys are not as well. They just grew into discipline, and they know that, okay, like, you know, I don't need to work. If it's not about me, it's something that's significantly larger than you. And if you don't have that thing that's there, whether that's, you know, you guys, you and Morgan having an outstanding, you know, wedding, right? Like someone's got to pay for the wedding, bro. Like if you could best case scenario, have an outstanding wedding, money didn't matter. What would that look like to you? What would a honeymoon look like to you? My wife and I are going on our honeymoon to Portugal. Like we are about to ball out, and I worked my tail off so that there was never, ever you know, we got a budget. No, zero budget. I'm going to work. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to grind as much as I possibly can to get there, because now I'm not working for Mikey. I'm not working for Mikey anymore. I'm not, because Mikey would want to stop working if it was all about Mikey. And that's what a lot of the guys, if you're listening to this, if you're stuck, you're in a rut, it's because you're working for you. When you can start working for mom, working for dad, working for your wife, working for your kids, I'm telling you, dude, when I got into door to door, I was in the number one office of the number one company. These guys were slinging 15, 20 solar deals every single month consistently 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. It's been longer than that now. 7, 8 years ago now. That's when I got past alarms in the first couple solar companies, then into Solar City. And these guys all had kids. They all had kids. And I'm like, I can barely manage the 168 hours in a week that I have. How do they have a wife and kids? And none of that? Because they had boundaries. It was this idea of boundaries. And and this is something that's personal right now, if I wanted my wife to be happy, I would not be leaving in 2 days from now for 15 days to go and work. But I forget what you said earlier. It was like
pre-overcoming.
Proactively pre-overcome. So being proactive, pre-overcome the situation that's about to happen. My wife and I, we had a conversation 2-3 months ago and was like, hey, like this coming up year, launching a $50 million energy fund and a 7-figure software company and marketing agency, like doing that meant like, because in solar, Zach, I pretty much could take off 2 weeks around Christmas. I worked to get there. It took me 8 years to get there, but I could work to be like, hey man, I can take off a legit week from Christmas, hand everything over to my assistants and my executives and be like, I can actually clock out. I worked my tail off to get there, but guess what? Companies sold, companies shut down, companies dissolved. Mikey started new things. There is no, brother. I worked the day, 2 days before, Christmas Eve. I worked that day, and I worked the day after Christmas. It is the 3rd of January, and I have literally slept a total of 10 hours in the last 3 days. I was up till 2 a.m. last night. I was up at 7-ish this morning, back on the grind. You got on a call with me a second ago. I was just finishing a call, and I was like, bro, like, we're going. It's separation season. I'm not working for Mikey anymore. I'm working for somebody else. And that is something that you do with you and Morgan. I'm so excited to see that because I saw you just got engaged. Like, dude, I'm jacked to see what your relationship looks like because, and I want to support you in any way I possibly can, because if there's anything at the end of the day that I'm going to fight for, it's going to be relationships with entrepreneurs and their wives. Because there's apparently there's this like culture in the entrepreneur space that like the husband and wife have issues. And I'm like, why should we have issues? There should be no issues. We've got all the money. We've got all the like we're driven, we're caring. We're like the top G's over here. Like we're the top G's. We're the alphas. Like these women our wives should love and serve and love where they're at. Like what's going on here? So strategically unbalanced, spending time in your work to get to the point where you can spend time with your family. And I wanted to know, let's talk about your family really quick. I wanted to know a couple things because you mentioned that you didn't want to be, 30, 40 years old and you couldn't be at your kids' football, soccer, baseball games, whatever. Like where did that come from? Why is that a goal of yours?
Well,
just
dude,
really quick.
I love my family to death and I think they're amazing and they've done like so much, but like, dude, my mom is like broke. Like she doesn't make money at all. She's deaf. So that already puts her at a disadvantage when it's like jobs. So she's deaf and she's a preschool teacher. So she teaches deaf preschoolers. That's like she maybe makes 20 grand a year, maybe. Right. And it's like, dude, she's got a house. She's got a car. Like she's got us as kids. And it's like, dude, she wasn't able to necessarily go to all the games. Right. Like, dude, I was a 3-sport athlete and I get it. Like it's hard as a parent to go to all the games. Like all the games is a lot of games when you're a 3-sport athlete. But at the same time, it's like, well, dude, I saw other people's parents there. And what was the difference between their parents and my parents? Well, it's not that they loved their kids more. I'm sure my parents loved me just as much as they loved their kids,
No.
right? And I love my parents just as much as they love their parents. But the difference is that these guys are well off and they've got a nice house and nice cars and they don't work. They work whatever schedule they want because they were like super grindy when they were young. And the difference is like my family took more stable blue collar jobs, which I respect. But it's like, dude, my dad's worked at UPS for, I think, 40 years now, like over 40 years, like since he was like 16. He's like 50. Yeah. He's like, yeah. And it's
Hopefully
like,
he's got some stock options.
Like 4 years ago, they cut pension. We're like, cool. The year before you retire, like they're going to cut pension. And it's like, what are you going to do about it?
The American dream. Exactly, American dream.
Dude, my dad didn't miss all my football games or all my track meets or all my basketball games just for his pension to get cut, right? And like, dude, my mom did miss all my games just for her to be at a disadvantage in a world where hearing is so important, right? So it's like, it would be a shame for me to have seen what I've seen and go down the same path. Like it wouldn't make sense. So for me, yeah, dude, I don't want to miss a game because like those are the worst feelings when you score 4 touchdowns and you go for 280 yards and dude, you just had the highlight game of your life and like no one's there to support you for it. It's like what you said, it's lonely at the top sometimes. It's like when you sell a Golden Door, but you're the only guy that in your whole office that did it. It's like, it's cool. It's like, yeah, it's sick. People look up to you and like people are like, oh dude, like congrats, like that's awesome. But it's like, yeah, when it's lonely at the top, like when you've got no one to celebrate it with, when you have no family, when you have no whatever, right? So it's like, but if you pre-overcome things right, and you're like, hey, like Morgan, I'm not gonna talk to you all summer, but just know that when I get back from September through April, we're gonna travel the world, and we're gonna be attached at the hip. And it's like, dude, since I've been back, we've gone to Disney World. We've gone like in Orlando. We've gone to Bear Lake, Utah, Idaho area. We've gone to Chicago for Christmas. Tomorrow we go to Cabo for the Grit's paying for all of us to go to Cabo for a week, which is great. All expenses paid, which is sick. The day. Oh yeah, dude, the Grit takes good care of the wives. They go on multiple trips during the summer, paid for by the Grit. It's like they are like they are the best with the wives. They do events every 2 weeks with all the wives so that they get to know each other. They're great.
Awesome.
So we're going to Cabo, and then we get
That's
back,
awesome.
and then we're going to like Red Rocks, like Arches stuff, like a week and a half with her family when they come down. It's their first time ever coming down to like West Coast because they're from Indiana, right? So they don't know what mountains look like. So, and then the day they leave is door to door con, and like we're speaking at door to door con on the panel, and then
Yep.
the day after that we leave for a cruise, and then we get back, and then we're going to Ecuador for a charity trip. So it's like, yeah, dude, like I know the summer sucks, dude. I'll be the first to tell you the summer sucks. I'm the one that lived it. I was the one in the dark place. I was the one crying on the curb, sitting in the car, 110 degrees, tears streaming down my face, thinking, dude, I can't do this. But now I'm the guy that's traveling the world and everyone's reaching out to me like, dude, what do you do for work? Well, dude, the same thing I reached out to you about 3-4 years ago that I said I was going to do. I didn't quit. I stuck with it. It's like, now I'm here, right? And the only reason I can do that is because I pre-overcame things the right way. So, and the thing about pre-overcoming is you can't go back on your word either. If you say, hey, we're going to spend all off season traveling, well, you better travel all off season. You got to be a man of your word too. It's like telling your reps, like, hey, dude, I'm not going to train with you after work, but from 6 to noon. And they're like, okay, let's get in at 6. Well, dude, you can't be the guy that sleeps in. Like, that's just not how it works. If you set boundaries, you got to be the first to follow them.
Yeah, dude. Boundaries. Boundaries. It's a very without boundaries, you're screwed. You become people pleaser, was it nice hearing my mom this year say,
Yeah, right.
we miss you like 500 times on FaceTime? No, it wasn't. I was like, hey, like yeah, with that, even before with like my wife, before we got married, my dad eventually I had to like be like, hey man, like I need you to really stop. Like you need to stop like talking about me getting married. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to get married when I'm going to get married. I got a plan.
And like Morgan and I had been together
following
4
this
years
strategy,
before I proposed
right?
this last,
It's got
a couple months ago. Cause it's like, well, dude, I didn't want to propose into a household that had no money, right? That doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, it looks like I'm doing well
yeah.
because I'm like positive and I'm got good goals and I'm driven. But it's like, the person that sees behind the veil is me and me only. It's like, you can't decide when I'm going to propose or get married or whatever. It's like, because you're not the one living my life. And like Morgan understood, like, hey, like if I tell you like it's not happening right now, it's because it's not happening right now. And there's no like debate about over it. We can talk about why, but there's no like debate on like, well, it's like, no, it's just not happening. It's just not how it's going to work because we're not in a position for that to make sense. Yep. Let's do it.
Let me
Yep,
transition really quick. Let me do some rapid fire. You ready? Okay. Adapt and evolve.
Iron Cowboy is great.
Iron Cowboy. What does that mean, dude?
Adapt and evolve to me is, well, going from, in my opinion, selling $600 contracts to $1,200 contracts and like selling 3 a day to 6 a day. Like it's not like the end all be all, but it's understanding that if you're, and I think it was Bill Gates that said this. I don't quote me on this, but it was either like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. But they were in a boardroom meeting and they said, if you like our products are doing great, what's next? And if you can't think of what's next, somebody already did. So you could either live on this mountaintop for the next 3 years and then we come out with the next product, or we can live on this mountaintop for 3 years and somebody will overtake us. So, and that's what I think of when I hear like adapt. Mm-hmm. Just like especially these days, it used to be where you could be on top for 10, 15, 20 years. Now it's, dude, if you're on top for a year, you're lucky because somebody else is coming to dethrone you and they've got all the same skills and technology and everything that you have. Yeah, exactly.
If not better. Football versus pest control.
I think football showed me discipline and like what comes with like discipline. I think pest control is harder, to be honest, just because it's relentless. For like football, it's 7 seconds of a play, 11 or 30 seconds of break. pest control, it kind of feels that way as well, where it's 4 months of go, 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 8 months of no, 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 right? But it's like, it's truly is just relentless. Like there's nothing more emotionally taxing on you than rejection. And you don't face rejection in football, you face disappointment sometimes, but disappointment is nothing compared to rejection.
I love that
Yeah.
answer. Thank you. I left it vague for you on purpose to see where you'd go with that. Tell me some books you read or are reading,
Um,
podcasts you listen to.
well, dude,
What are some personal
podcast, The
development stuff
Landing
you're doing right
Pad
now?
by the Grit. Shameless plug. I have a podcast called The Drawing Board. I just started it, so it's not great, but I'm getting better. And then I'm a huge like podcast guy, like Alex Hormozzi's podcast, The Game, um, like all that kind of stuff, like Sam Taggart and Rick Martinez, those guys. Um, just because I'm a door to door guy, so I like listening to that stuff, obviously. Um, and then as far as books, like,
Yeah.
dude, I really need to make a video about like my favorite books because I feel like I'm just like I've got quotes like coming out of my ears sometimes, but it's like John C. Maxwell right now is what I'm reading, the Developing the Leader Within. Um, I think the best books ever are The Go Giver and Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And then also You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Last year, I went for a run. I started 75 hard. The very first day I did 75 hard, I went for a run. And I ran a half marathon listening to Can't Hurt Me with no training, and I've never ran more than a mile. So it's like that book is, dude, that book you could read 10 times over. It's like that gets you to a dark, dark place. Um, Dude, if someone can run on broken legs, you can go sell bug juice. Um, and then so those would be like probably my top couple. I'm not sure exactly how many that was, but dude, I really, if you follow me on Instagram, like I'm gonna post a video coming soon of my top 10 because it's so hard to narrow it down, but they're good books. And Door to Door Millionaire obviously is a good book as well. Easy beginner book for door to door guys.
Love that. Love that. Um,
Um,
what's
well,
your
dude,
goals
it's
from
funny. So
this
the
coming
Grit
up year?
just came out with a tier system of like manager, divisional, regional, senior divisional, senior regional, like all that stuff, right? Because we're newer, so it's like it was time that we start to like set boundaries and structure. So this year, my downline did under 1 million, so I'm not even a manager technically, which is kind of crazy. But you can go to the Golden Door, but you're not a manager. So next year, I'm like, well, F that. I don't want to be a manager. I'm going to skip that step. I'm going to go straight to like divisional. So 3 million downline at least, and 1 million by myself. So
Love that.
um,
3 ways to
be
fail
bigger than
in door-to-door
yourself.
sales.
Like think that you're better than you are. Like not take coaching basically because there's always someone bigger and badder, and it's like you can always. Dude, I learn more from rookies sometimes than I learn from vets, just because they have a new approach and they're young and they're fresh and they're like, oh, like, well, what about this? And you're like, oh, dude, I never thought of that. So learn from everybody, like, but not, I guess the opposite of that would be not learning from anybody, right? Just thinking you're the best, which was my fault between year 1 and 2. That's why I didn't grow, right? Um, the other thing is just like thinking that it's going to be like relying on motivation. It's like, dude, motivation will not take you far just because this job is not fun. And it's not sexy and it's not joyous and it's not something you wake up every morning and you're like, I can't wait to go get 100 doors slammed in my face, right? Um, but like you understand that the consistency of doing those things that you don't like pays off, and like and the consistency will outweigh the motivation every day. Like I always say consistency over intensity, where I'd rather just do 6 a day. Personally, I'd rather do 6 to 7 a day than 18 one day, 3 the next day, 20 the next day, 4 the next day. Dude, I'd just steady Eddie. It's what people call me. Just go, go, go every day. So realizing that you got to marry the process and date the results. I think it's a big one. Um, and then the last thing, way to not succeed in door to door. Oh man, there's so many ways to not succeed. I'm trying to think of a really good one, but like I think the thing that is probably the most obvious that still doesn't get talked about enough is like not working all the hours. It's like, dude, I work 1 to 9. I don't work 14-hour days. I don't work 12-hour days. I work 1 to 9, but it's the most intentional 8 hours you'll ever see. It's not 8 hours of like 6 hours of this, 2 hours of this. Like, no, it's when you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, be at home. And it's like there's a difference between working 8 hours and intentionally working 8 hours. And like someone can go out there and dude, I worked all the hours. Oh, dude, I knocked all the doors. Yeah, but you didn't see the huge wasps on their house when you walked up because you were on your phone, right? And like that lost you the deal just because you weren't able to point out that one thing. I would have never missed that because it's like, while I'm here, I'm here. Like I'm intentional. So not being intentional with your hours, you only have so many of them. Like, dude, the summer only lasts 4 months. It's like, be as intentional as you can with those 4 months, and then you can be on like brain reset, autopilot for the other 8 if you really like to.
Those are really good. Appreciate that.
Oh
What's
man,
the
that's advice my
best advice your
dad
dad
ever
ever
gave
gave
me.
you?
See, it's tough. My dad worked.
Or learn from your dad. In other words, let me rephrase
Yeah,
that.
that's a
What's the
that's a good
best
question.
advice you
My dad
learned
worked night
about your
shifts,
dad?
so I didn't see him like very much at all. It's like I'd be at school when he'd get home from work, and he'd be asleep by the time I get home from school. So it's like we very rarely see each other. But something I did learn from my dad is the importance of like just like doing what you say you're gonna do, and like always going above and beyond for others without expecting anything in return. Like, dude, my dad like works hard and like his job like sucks. Like his job's not fun. I don't think he likes his job any more than like we think his job's fun. He said, dude, this man hates Christmas because it's like he works at UPS. He's worked for Santa for 40 years, right? So it's like this guy, but every day he comes home and he mows the lawn, and he comes home and he shovels the walk, and he shovels my sister's house, and he mows her lawn, and he trims her bushes, cleans her gutters, and he comes home and he vacuums, and he keeps a clean house, and he makes his bed in the mornings. And the fact is like he's like, as much as he deserves to be successful as much as everybody else. He just didn't take necessarily the right path. And like he's successful in the fact that he's a successful man. That's what I admire about him, is like he's a successful man. He might not be a successful businessman. He might not be a successful like he came to every football game father, but he is successful as a man who lives a life of service.
I love that. Yeah, I learned very quickly that I could learn things to do from my dad. Like, hey man, be consistent,
Mm-hmm.
do the work that, clean, make sure the house is clean, make sure the kids are fed, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Go to work, be consistent. And then I learned a lot of what not to do from my dad. And that wasn't things that he taught me. It was just things that I observed of like, hey, like I'm not going to do that. Like my dad
Yep.
did this, and that was not an attribute that I want to carry on to the next generation. So I love that you said that. Yeah, our dads, there's nothing against our dads from not going and being entrepreneurs. My dad was a failed entrepreneur and didn't do it again. He went and then,
Yeah.
Started from the
And you
bottom
can't
because he
blame
had
him.
no money and just took the
And the
regular
thing
job and was
is
just like,
like,
I'm gonna
dude,
just make
we
it or
were
whatever.
one
And there was
step from
nothing,
that.
yeah,
Like,
I
dude,
can't blame him
I
at all.
said if I don't sell 400K this year, I'm never doing it again. Right? It's once you were one step, and then the step,
Wow.
it worked for you. It didn't work for them. It's like, but we don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah. Took me a few more years than you. I think on year 4 is when I started to actually make a little bit of money. Three or four. So I guess, yeah, right around the same time, but I think it was a year after that. Why is it so important? Why is proximity important to you?
Dude, proximity is the only reason
What
I
has the
got a
results
cold
of
sore,
proximity done
to be
for you?
honest. You got to be in the room where it happens. Like, dude, you got to, if you're at a company right now, like if you're listening to this and you're at a company right now and you're learning from your manager's done 200K, 300K, I promise you, and like I know it's like, dude, I could sell more than my manager. I promise you, he will be your ceiling. It's like you will sell, if he sells 300K, you'll sell 270, because it's like, well, it's okay that he sold more than me today. He should. He's my manager, right? It's like, dude, I came to the grit and there were rookies selling 10, and it's like, what? Like, but it's because of the proximity. It's like what I said, dude. I didn't wake up this morning and pray to Drew Hansen. Like, that's not like, I don't wake up and like, please, Drew, let me have a good day. Like, dude, he's not God, right? But at the same time, he did double what I did. Why is that? Well, let's follow the footsteps. Let's see. Well, dude, he did this for a couple of years, and he did this, and he trained really hard. He led a good team, and he's a good father, right? And it's like you figure out, you just follow those footsteps, and proximity is huge because, like what I said earlier, I sold 3 a day, and I was the best in my office, and then I started selling 17 a day when I realized it's bigger than myself, dude. And all I could think is, dude, if I was in an office with someone who sold 17 every day, I could for sure sell 17 every day. And I became reliant on like other people's results for like me to be successful. This year, I mean, I had Alec Withers, which is a freaking hoot and holler. He's a stud, right? Like, he's the best, like one of my best friends. But and he didn't do a golden door this year. He did one last year. So I knew, dude, I have to keep up with whatever he's doing. But at some point, Alec decided, hey, I'm not going to do a golden door this year. And I had to find it within myself to say, well, I still am. Because we were at the same number when he decided no. Like, we were both at like 450K. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm not going to stay out for another 200K. And I had to say, well, I am, right? And like when he went home August 25th, I went home September 18th or whatever it was, right? Which sucked. And like, I didn't want to be out there longer, especially without my best friend in Alec. But sometimes you just got to realize like proximity is important because it shows you what can be. But what's more important is deciding that what can be will be.
Yeah, I'll second that. If I wasn't in that office at Solar City, I would have never thought it was possible to sell an average of 11 deals a month like I did. I mean, there was no chance that I would have been a 3-4 month guy.
Supposed to go from selling 600 to 1,200.
What it would have been.
Like, dude, when I was seeing that the grid was putting $1,100 contract values up, I was like, and I'm selling $600 contracts for my own company. I'm like, how are they? Oh, dude, it must be 2-year contracts. Oh, dude, it must be with Mosquito. Like, well, dude, the fact is, it wasn't. I just made excuses, and like, I came over and they showed me how to do it, and I do it now. But it's like I couldn't have done it without them.
Yep. All right, you said you don't journal. What are some things that you do consistently?
Yeah, great question. So actually, my New Year's resolution was to journal once a week now. So that's what we're doing. But Casey Baugh has a great podcast. You should listen to it. John Taylor is an adamant of it. But Casey Baugh, if you don't know who Casey Baugh is, he's like a Vivint OG, total stud. He has a podcast about weekly journaling on Sundays. So I'm starting to do that now. It's like so good. And Priming by what's his name? Tony Robbins. I almost said David Goggins, Tony Robbins. But as far as daily routine in the off season, dude, I get up, I go to the gym, I come home, I take a shower, I grab my coffee, I go to the office, and I stay there all day. And even if I have no work to do, I'm in the office because when you're in the office, things just get done. It's like you see other people working and you just like, it's contagious. Working from home is nothing compared to working in the office, right? You will not get a third of the things done. The other thing is during the summer, this is probably what people want to know more in a daily routine. Well, dude, our morning meetings start there's an optional one at 10. I go every day, obviously. And then there's one at 11 that's mandatory. But so I wake up at like 8:30, not like crazy early, right? Wake up, I take a cold shower because I want to start the day with a win. And like, I hate cold showers as much as everybody else hates cold showers. But like, I just think that's the easiest way. You get up and you just win. And you just do something you don't want to do right off the bat. So I get up, take a cold shower, and then I dry off. I go grab a coffee every morning. Everyone jokes with me because I always have a coffee in my hand. They're like, oh, this guy's like, I'm constantly just like doing meetings, like shaking my coffee around, right? Everyone just laughs at me. But go get a coffee just because, and I listen to an audiobook or a podcast on the way there because I want to hear like something that's going to help my brain grow. As dumb as that sounds, it's like I want to like expand today. If I just go out and I work today, I didn't learn. Maybe I learned something on the doors, but I've kind of knocked enough doors to the point where it's like you've learned like a lot. Like you'll never learn it all, but you've learned like quite a bit. Where like something new, it's like shocking if something new happens. When someone says something, you're like, "Whoa, I haven't heard that one before," right? So it's like it becomes pretty like monotonous. So I think the only way to grow in this sense is take that 30-minute drive to the Starbucks in the morning and listen to a podcast and just kind of like don't be on your phone, just like listen to it and like grow from it, right? And then come home, the morning meeting starts at 10. That's when we do like extra training and like we just kind of chat and have fun. 11, we go through results, and then noon is lunch. I eat lunch on my way out the door, like eat and go. I'm on the doors by 12:30 or 1, and then knock until 9. And it's not until sunset, it's until 9. Because if you go until sunset, it's relative. But if you go until 9, it's until 9. You knock your last door at 9:01, right? And that's kind of like a day in the life. Then weekends, it's like, dude, Saturdays, be with the boys. Sundays, be with the girl. It's like Saturday nights, like I work all day Saturday. I work like 9 to 9 every day, every Saturday, because I think it's like the best time to work. But at 9, I always have a reservation for 9 at Cheesecake Factory or the Tavern or something, or Yard House. And like I get there late, but all the guys get there on time and they're chatting,
Yeah.
and I will roll up and everyone's like, "Hey," like, and it's just good vibes. And then the next day, it's like, hang out with the girl, sleep in, do whatever. This year I didn't. This year it was all boys because she wasn't with me. But typically Sundays are for the lady. And next year they will for sure be for the lady.
I love that. I love that, dude. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time and your insight, because this is something that, again, the listeners, we need to hear this as a top performer, as the top 1%. Like, we need to hear that, yes, it's okay. We can sacrifice. It's all worth it. It's all worth it. So you've added a lot of value to me, and I know that the listeners are going to get a lot out of this. So I really appreciate your time here. And dude, it's been,
no, it's great.
I've got 3 pages of notes. So I'm over here like, dude, I just learned a lot from you, and it's cool how having a podcast, I learn a ton. I want to know how you and Morgan are successful. I want to know how you're successful with your family. I want to know how you're successful with your teams. I don't know what that looks like, because I'm always a student. This boundaries thing with your family is something that I'm working through right now. Continue to stay coachable, learning more about proximity. I mean, I'm in 4 masterminds, and I'll be in 3 of those in January. I'll leave to go be in proximity around dudes that are 10 times, 100 times wealthier than I am, smarter than I am. And they're just like you and I, Zach.
And what I'd say as far as boundaries, just like leave you with a nugget is, a lot of times guys like you and I think that because we can talk well, that our thoughts are clearly portrayed. But a lot of the time, Morgan has no idea what I'm talking about. And in my head, I'm like, how do you not get this? But it's like, dude, you can't expect, like, at some point, you just have to realize you're the crazy one. And like, they're probably like sane, right? And so just saying like, okay, like, how did you translate it?
Yeah.
And like, where was the disconnect? And like, how can we fix it for the future? And I think that's helped a lot in realizing like, dude, I'm probably wrong way more than I'm right. Because like, well, I'm always right in my mind, right? Always. But I'm probably wrong more than I'm right, just because 99% of people in the world don't think how you and I think. And if that happens to you at home too, like if anyone's listening, maybe you are right, but dude, it's like this, you're so in the minority of people. It's like I think it's right to be strategically imbalanced. Morgan sometimes does not. And so we have to have those conversations. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Any final words
you've done it
for the Golden Door Award winners out there?
You're the best to ever do it. And like, if no one's told you this, like if you're at a company where you're one of 10, or if you're one of 5, or even if you're one of 1 and no one's told you, dude, you've been to the darkest of depths and you've gotten out and you've become a better person. And And dude, I applaud you for that. If you haven't done it, dude, you're an idiot. Go do it. Because in this day and age, it is irresponsible to not be successful. With all the access, dude, if you want to learn from Steve Jobs, look up a podcast and you can learn exactly what he's thinking. If you want to learn from Dwayne Wade, look up his podcast and you can listen to exactly what Dwayne Wade is thinking. It's irresponsible to be unsuccessful in this day and age. So take the step now instead of waiting until you're 30 or you're 40 and regret it. And like, I'll be blunt in saying that you're an idiot because, like, dude, if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you want to be a golden door. And the only thing that's holding you back from being a golden door is you not going out and doing it. That's it. You've learned all the knowledge you need to know. Just go do it. Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple, bro.
Yeah,
Zach Kinzel, my man, representing the grit.
And like, if you don't work
with me,
brother. Totally fine. There's 14 other golden doors that you can work with that I'm sure would love to have you. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's just Kinzel Zach.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep, we'll put that all in the show notes, man. If you're not following Zach, follow him on Instagram. He's got an outstanding page, and he is super active all over Instagram, posting outstanding content. So, Zach, keep doing what you're doing, brother. And we'll put your podcast down here too, so people can follow you. If you're not following, make sure you follow Zach. So appreciate you.
See you on the stage,
so much, brother. Have a great rest of your year. We'll see you at Door to Door Con. Yes, sir.